Hello everyone, my name is True, and before we hop into today's video, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on today's video. Please consider taking a second to hit the like button if you enjoyed the content or hitting the dislike button if you don't. And while you're at it, if you are not already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's the best way to support me and it only takes one click. And with all of that being said, you are now watching the True TCG. Hey, how's it going guys? True here, back with a short little video. And yeah, in today's video we're actually going to be reviewing the brand new cards releasing in Battle Legion and a couple of sparkling Pokemon. So apparently the Prism Star card kind of style is coming back. I guess you can kind of call it a spec as well, but for Pokemon. So I'm pretty excited to be taking a look at these cards. I've kind of looked over these cards, but I'm not too familiar with them, so you'll be getting my kind of first reaction to these. So with all that being said, let's start scrolling through the list. And by the looks of things, we've got a shiny Greninja and a shiny Hawlucha. And both of them have abilities, so I guess that'll be pretty cool. So we start off with a Litwick, a Lampent, and a Chandelure line. By the looks of things, this looks like a Shirley Mill type of deck. With the Chandelure has the ability Mountain Burner. Once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand to evolve Pokemon, you may discard the top 3 cards from your opponent's deck. Something that immediately pops into my mind is combining this with Scoop Up Net, and in some sort of control deck, maybe with Buizel coming out with the ability to recover any 2 cards. You might be able to pull off some sort of niche mill deck, I guess, if that's the only possible use that I can possibly think of if we're gonna use Chandelure ever. This is kind of like the ability from Rhyperior from Guardians Rising, I believe, or some Sun and Moon set that has the exact same ability. So this could see some play, some potential play, but right now it's definitely kind of niche. Stage 2 definitely being a little slow. Can also combine this with Rare Candy if you want to, I guess, in theory. So yeah, just a couple of uses you can use Chandelure for, but overall it's kind of niche at the current moment in my opinion. Now we have Starmie V. Starmie V, Swift for 2 colorless energy, basically a useless attack, and Water Spiral. This attack is 50 damage times the number of energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon in play. I really don't think this card's going to see much play at all. 190 HP is very fragile, unless it gets a V-Star or maybe a V-Max if those are still coming out. I really don't see this card seeing play. Maybe a tech against Turbo Dark, maybe in some sort of Melanie deck, I guess would be the one reason why this card would see play. I guess this does kind of counter Darkrai V-Star, which we're going to take a look at later in the video, but overall I do see that this card has some potential against that specific matchup. This card definitely could go in some Melanie based Inteleon deck. So yeah, I guess Starmie V is not entirely useless. Definitely does have some potential in the upcoming format, I would say. But if Darkrai V-Star wasn't a thing, this card would be entirely useless. Now we have our sparkling cards. Sparkling Greninja. The sparkling Pokemon rule says you can't have more than 1 sparkling Pokemon in your deck. So I'm assuming this means you can only play a Greninja or a Hawlucha. You can't play both in one deck, and you can only have 1 copy, I believe. So the ability of Greninja is Concealed Card. Once during your turn, you may discard an energy card from your hand, then draw 2 cards. This ability, now that I'm looking at it in detail, it's not that great. I mean, overall, it could have some synergy with some decks that require energies discards, like maybe the upcoming Charizard V-Star or a Melanie deck for say, but this ability definitely seems kind of niche, and not every deck's going to be playing it, that is for sure. The attack, Moonlight Shuriken can discard 2 energy from this Pokemon, do 90 to 2. That's actually pretty solid, but again, you can't set this up in 1 turn, so it does have its limits. So overall, Sparkling Greninja probably going to go in some Melanie decks, and it's definitely not going to be played in every deck. Now we look at Sparkling Hawlucha. This card with the ability Big Match. If this Pokemon is on your bench, your Pokemon attacks do 30 more damage to your active Pokemon VMAX. That is actually very, very strong, especially in combination with the upcoming Choice Band reprint, kind of. I forgot what it's called, but it's basically a Choice Band reprint. We can actually be hidden for plus 60 damage, which is a pretty big number. It can help certain decks reach opponent KOs. If we look at Ice Rider, it can actually hit up to 310 if we put in Shining Hawlucha. So I feel like Sparkling Hawlucha has a lot of potential. I'm definitely a pretty big fan of the card. It can definitely make a couple of differences in a couple of matchups. But if V-Stars become the meta, then Sparkling Hawlucha is definitely not going to have too big of a place because it only does affect VMAX. But for now, I do think Sparkling Hawlucha overall is a pretty solid card. Now we're looking at Garchomp V. Garchomp V, at first glance, I'm not too big of a fan of it. You do need 2 different types of energies to attack, as well as 4 energies to discard, to just end up discarding 3, doing 220 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. When at first glance, I do think that I really don't think this card has much potential alone, because you're just discarding 3, doing 220. I'd rather play Zacian, if I'm being honest. But if there's a V-Star, this definitely could have a lot of potential, especially with Memory Charm. Yeah, just sniping 220 is pretty strong actually. And yeah, I guess at first thought the way you can charge this up is by using Melanie and maybe double turbo energy, whatever it's called, the new DCE, to just constantly try to use it. But overall, at the current moment, with no V-Star revealed, this card looks extremely niche. But if there is a V-Star revealed, and we can attach a Memory Charm, we can have access to Sonic Strike with Never, that could be really strong. So this card definitely has future potential in my opinion. Now we're looking at Lucario V and Lucario V-Star. So we got our first V-Star here. Lucario V, Crush Punch, 50 damage, discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. That's a very good attack on Lucario V. Overall, it's not going to win you games, but it can definitely disrupt your opponent, put them behind a turn, especially with double turbo energy especially with double colorless energy essentially coming back into the meta. And Cyclone Kick, 120 damage for 2 energies. Actually, it's not terrible. Not great, but not terrible. And now we are at Lucario V-Star. Lucario V-Star with the Fighting Knuckle attack for fighting 2 colorless. That's pretty good considering, again, DCE is coming back into the meta. Now we can charge this up with 2 energy attachments instead of 3. So definitely has some potential in my opinion. Fighting Knuckle, 120 damage if your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon V. This attack does 120 damage. That's pretty solid. It is kind of boring in my opinion, a little niche. Constant 240 is never bad, I think, but it's going to be, I guess, in theory, we can combine this with the new Choice Pin to up the damage up to 270, maybe combine it with Inteleon, with the Inteleon pings reach someone at KOs, or maybe we can even toss in the Sparkling Hawlucha, make our Lucario hit 300 damage, and then maybe play some Zigzagoons, finish off some of our opponent's Pokemon. I don't know, this card seems like it has a lot of potential if we get a way to push it up a bit more damage, I think, because we can't really use Cheryl with this. I was thinking like if we had a way to charge this back up in 1 turn, Cheryl could be extremely disruptive, but I really don't think there is. So this card's definitely a little bit limited, but it's definitely a pretty solid card overall, especially considering the fact that it only gives up 2 prize cards. So you can use 3 of these dudes, which makes it actually a pretty big threat now that I'm realizing it. So in its V-Star attack, Aura Star, 70 times damage. This attack does 70 damage times the number of energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. It seems like Pokemon's actually trying to balance Darkrai V-Star. Seems like they're releasing a couple of answers to it. We've got plenty of attacks. We've got 2 attacks, one on Starmie V, one on Lucario V-Star, that can directly punish our opponent for putting in too much energies. And yeah, Aura V-Star, definitely a pretty solid answer to Darkrai V-Star. So overall, Lucario V-Star, in my opinion, is actually a pretty solid card, considering the fact that it only gives up 2 prize cards and can hit a pretty consistent 240. So I'm a pretty big fan of Lucario V-Star. It's a little niche, but overall, I think it has some potential. Now we're at the hyped up Darkrai. So Darkrai V, at first glance, it's not great. The base attacks on it are definitely worse than Lucario V. Dark colors for 50, dark colorless 130. Definitely a little bit niche. Just putting our opponent to sleep is not going to do a whole lot. And Darkrai V-Star is where the trouble comes in. So something to note is that it is weak to grass, so this card does not get hard countered by Rapid Striker Shifu VMAX, but its attack, Dark Pulse, directly mirrors the Darkrai EX attack, where it hits 30 more damage for each dark energy attached to your Pokemon in its 30 base. And now, while this at first glance might not seem too good, this attack has a lot of potential. if I believe Dark Patch is being reprinted, we'll look at that later on in the set. But basically, it's an item card that allows you to attach a dark energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. And with the ability, the VSTAR power, Star Abyss, we can actually put 2 item cards from our discard pile back into our hand. So in theory, in each game, we can utilize up to 6 Dark Patches, which adds 210 damage onto Dark Pulse. And something that I'm thinking about doing is actually combining Darkrai V-Star with Cheryl. And again, something to note is that these V-Stars only give up 2 prize cards, so we can force our opponent to KO 3 270 HP Darkrai V-Stars while hidden very, very high numbers. And since Dark Patch of course is coming back, we can even combine Darkrai V-Star with Eternatus, which essentially gives us a Skyfield type of ability to where we can have a bunch of Pokemon in play. We can actually play 4 Crobats with this. The only real thing that this deck is probably scared of is for Path to the Peak. Maybe, I don't know, if Pokemon really wants to crack this card, they can release a Chaotic Swell again, or some type of card with the Chaotic Swell ability to kind of put, and yeah, that would absolutely break this card. But at the current moment, I would say Darkrai V-Star has so much potential, but Path to the Peak can definitely put a little cap on its power. But overall, still super strong. It has a lot of partners. Eternatus is one, and yeah, with Eternatus we can play 4 Crobats, which ups its consistency. With Ultra Ball coming back, Crobat just becomes even more useful. And yeah, we can play a bunch of Dark Energies. We have a lot of ways. Yeah, we can even play the Baby Galarian Moltres. I'm just thinking about it, to where we can attach 2 Dark Energies from our hand onto it, charging up even more energy into play. So yeah, this card actually has so much potential to hit when it KOs on our opponent's Pokemon. We have access to plenty of Crobats, plenty of ways to charge energy into play. Let's not forget Galarian Moltres V either, with its ability to, I think it's like Dark Aura or something, to put a dark energy from the discard pile onto it. Essentially a Darkrai GX, but even better since you can do it once every turn. So yeah, overall, I think Darkrai V-Star has a ton of potential. It's definitely going to see play, and this definitely does have the potential to be the new best deck in format. Now Hoopa, the new basic Hoopa, Genie Hand Searcher deck for dark energy attaches to one of your Pokemon. Pretty useless attack. Yeah, it's definitely just a useless baby. I'd definitely rather play the baby Hoopa, the other Hoopa from Darkness Ablaze, if I was going to play a baby Pokemon in Darkrai V-Star. Now we have Gutsy Pickaxe. Reveal the top card of your deck if it's a fighting energy attached to one of your bench Pokemon. If otherwise, reveal it to your opponent and put it into your hand. This has direct synergy with Sword and Shield Oranguru. I don't know if that's going to be standard by the time this releases, but this definitely has a ton of potential. This is essentially a better Judge Whistle. I mean, you can play 4 of these in your deck and essentially play 56 cards, but I guess you are showing the card to your opponent, so that is kind of a downside, but really doesn't make too big of a difference in my opinion. Yeah, so this card is essentially a reprint of Judge Whistle, but better because you can charge fighting energies in a fighting deck. So I guess if you're playing a fighting deck, there's no real reason not to play Gutsy Pickaxe. Definitely increases your consistency, and hey, you could get a fighting energy and get an extra attachment into play. So overall, Gutsy Pickaxe has a lot of potential. It could probably help a lot of decks, maybe even Colossal, see some play. So overall, I think Gutsy Pickaxe is definitely going to pave a way for the future of fighting decks. Even though it doesn't look that good right now, I do think it has a lot of potential. Now we've got a couple of, again, there's the Dark Patch reprint. We all know what it does. Attach a dark energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Has a ton of potential, especially gonna make Darkrai V-Star very, very broken. This is the Choice Band reprint, and there's the DCE reprint. So basically, overall, I think these cards have a lot of potential to break the format, especially Darkrai V-Star, because it's so good. It has so many partners, and yeah, it has so much potential. Of course, it could potentially be a little bit inconsistent, but I feel like by the time we find the right build, it's going to be terrorizing the standard format. The Lucario V-Star, overall very solid. Yeah, overall just a solid batch of cards in my opinion. That's gonna do it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe for more content. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers before 2022 is over. With all that being said, remember to have a good day, stay safe, and peace out.